So next we have also the honor of inviting a expert from the European perspective, from the European Commission. And I really welcome William Neale. William is advising the European Commission on circular economy, especially also on digital product passports. And it's very, very interesting to also hear his insights from a European perspective. Hello, Neale. Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Great.
You're in touch with me majorly. You've been closely followed by up to 100 people in the room who are very curious about what you can present to us in the context of the European Commission. So thank you for your time. The stage is yours.
Well, many thanks, and good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be in Hamburg with you. It's one of my favorite cities, and one with a fantastic history. But I'm at least able to join you from Brussels. So yes, the Interfacer project really seems, from what I can see, to embody a lot of what we're trying to do in the European Green Deal. We talk about the green and digital transitions, the twin transitions, as we call them. I have to say that the political narrative about that was hard to reflect in reality, because very often we're speaking very different languages between the digital world and the world of sustainability and environment policy. And it's taken us quite a while to, well, for me, from the environment side, to get used to talking about the different technologies, and for my colleagues in the digital policy world to actually understand what we're trying to enable with those technologies. And I think it's very, rather than, I'm always quoting Kranzberg's first law of technology, which says that technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. And I think when it comes to applying digital technologies to achieving circularity and sustainability, those technologies can just as easily be used, and are being used, for accelerating linear and unsustainable growth and production and consumption, as they can for enabling what we want to do, which is to really apply those technologies to sustainability. So the European Green Deal, as I said, I mean, it's a central pillar of the current European Commission. It wasn't always thus, and we should remember that it's only since 1986 that we've had environment as an objective of the treaties of the European Union, and only since 1992 that sustainable development, so since the Rio conference really, has been an objective of the European Union. And even in all of that time, and up until about 10 years ago, we were still very much basing our environment policy on legislation, on punishing polluters, on setting targets for member states to achieve in clean air, clean water, waste recycling, and so on. And it's only really in the last 10 years we've been talking about resource efficiency and circular economy. We had our first circular economy action plan in 2015, and that was still very much focused on waste legislation. We brought in the plastic strategy in 2018, and that was the first time, I think, that we had a sort of value chain approach where we looked at all of the drivers of the unsustainability of the plastic production chain and consumption, and we tried to have a very systemic approach with different policy tools for that. Now, at the moment, since 2020, we've been implementing our second circular economy action plan, and I wanted to focus a little bit on some of the contents of that. I'll particularly focus on our sort of value chain approach, and on our eco-design approach, and on the digital product passport in a few minutes. But I think it's important to think about circular economy in three parts. The way I consider it is, on the one hand, there's the resource efficiency. So you have the efficiency with which you use the resource inputs that are coming into our manufacturing, into producing things. The third bit would be the waste management. So it's what happens once things become waste. But I think that what we've realized, and what I feel is the most crucial part, is the bit in the middle. So it's from the moment a product is put on the market until it becomes waste, because that is the time when you can really get the maximum utility and functionality out of those products and assets, and the things that we've used, the materials to make. So it's really crucial that we get those products to last for longer. We make sure that they're repairable, that they can be used more intensively, so we can share them, so we can have other models of actually delivering the functionality of those products. And I think for this, the eco-design and the digital product passport are crucial. I think they're crucial for all three parts, but I think really for that bit in the middle, as I call it, they really are very important. So we reckon that about 80% of the life cycle impact of a product is defined in its design stage. So that design moment is really crucial. That is why we're harnessing the Eco Design Directive to deliver on product durability and repairability and so on. We're not trying to make bureaucrats into designers. We're not saying that somebody here in Brussels should be designing washing machines. But if you consider that by just making a few small design tweaks, you can really completely revolutionize the circularity of a product. If you take a washing machine, Stiftung Warentest and their equivalents in some other European countries are doing a Horizon project at the moment where they're looking at why products fail. Washing machines fail for two reasons nearly all the time. It's the bearings or the electronics. So if we are able to bring in requirements for those washing machines, just on those two areas, standards for bearings and removability and repairability of the electronics, we can easily increase the durability of those washing machines. And when you consider that the average washing machine today lasts 11 years, if we could push that to 16 years, 5 years more, not only would a lot of consumers be much happier, but also we would save about 1 million tons of CO2 going in the air. When we're talking about 450 million consumers in the European Union and 92% of households have a washing machine, you can imagine that the knock-on effects of those extra 5 years per washing machine are enormous. So what we proposed in March last year, so just exactly a year ago, was an eco-design for sustainable products regulation, where we are expanding the application of eco-design. Before it was just for energy using products. It was already highly successful. It was saving about 220 euros per household in Europe, and that's before energy prices went up, just by having requirements related to energy use. So we propose to expand the scope of that to all kinds of products, furniture, textiles, whatever, and to increase the number of criteria from just energy performance to durability, repairability, dismantleability, all kinds of abilities, which will push circularity. Now, the way that will be done is through criteria product group by product group, because obviously you're not going to have the same issues with shampoo as you do with a smartphone. So there will be a series of delegated acts, we call them secondary legislation, which will be based on stakeholder involvement in deciding on the most important criteria for that particular product group. So bringing in producers and consumers, of course, bringing in civil society, bringing all the operators along the value chain who have an interest in capturing the value of that product by increasing its circularity. Now, another very important part of what we proposed a year ago is that we should not only have requirements on the physical attributes of products, and this is very revolutionary. We suggested that we should also have data access requirements, what we call a digital product passport. And I think here it's important to understand not only the technological aspects, and I know that the interface of project has been working very much on the operating systems and so on. We are working on that. We're proposing obligatory tags on products, so a scannable, machine-readable tag, individual unique identifiers on products, and a whole open and interoperable architecture with standards for the architecture and interoperability, standards for the data, and so on. That is all going on. But I think what is very important is the process that we're also putting in place through these delegated acts. So just as product group by product group, we will look at the physical attributes that we need to make requirements for products. We will also look at what data is needed by the different operators along the value chain in order to be able to capture that value. So much of that data is lost in the journey of the product along the value chain today. there are so many split incentives along that value chain that there's not really any reason or incentive for one person at one point on the chain to make data available, even if it wouldn't cost them anything, even if there aren't intellectual property issues and so on. They won't do it if they don't see any interest. So the idea is to establish those kinds of requirements so that that data is made available. Now, the kind of data, again, will depend on the product group. We are looking at, for each product group that we establish requirements for, at whether we insist that the unique identifier is at the model, the batch, or the item level, the individual physical product. In many cases, that won't be necessary to have it on the individual item, but for some more complex products, that makes sense. We'll look at who should have access to the data and to what data, who can introduce data, who can update data, and what kind of data should be in there. Compliance documentation, user manuals, information on the amount of recycled content in a product, footprint information, life cycle information on hazardous chemicals, difficult to recycle materials or valuable materials, critical raw materials. So for each product group, we will need to look at those individually and what is really important to that product group. We will start with probably textiles and batteries. We've already undertaken to make those priorities, but we have launched a public consultation which is open now, I think, which I'd encourage you to look at, which is identifying what you might think are the most critical sectors and critical value chains that we need to look at first, because we have to obviously not bite off more than we can chew. We have to go product group by product group, and it's a lot of work. So what we're trying to do with the digital product passport is what I call data for action. We're not looking for data for knowledge. We're not looking to accumulate lots of data in Brussels on a server. We're not looking at data for reporting. We're really looking at a decentralized, distributed approach where data is available for those who need it in the value chain. Of course, maybe we'll be able to consolidate and anonymize some of that data and use it for looking at stocks and flows of materials, or there may be things that could be useful for, but the fundamental objective is really to make the data available to the value chain actor that needs it, who can use it to unlock that circular value. And that could be business to business. I think mostly it will be. It could be business to consumer information, and to some extent business to government information, because we're also looking at the customs authorities are looking at integrating that into their customs data window. I think that the business case is already proven. We have a lot of digital product passports already in existence. There was a recent study by Wuppertal that identified 70 examples, and those are voluntary examples. They're ones that have been done by actors in the business chain because they see that they can reduce friction costs, they can increase transparency, they can close loops, they can keep more contact with their customers and the other actors along the chain, and there's already a good reason to do that just from a business case. I'd say that what we're trying to do, which is going beyond that, is as regulators, is making obligations for certain data to be made available, which those voluntary applications might not necessarily do. So that is the additionality, if you like, of what we're trying to do. So all I will do with that, I hope that's a good overview of what we're trying to do. We're now in the co-decision stage, so the European Parliament and the member states in the European Council are negotiating what we call the sausage machine. We've produced beautiful meat, and it'll come out of the other end in some form. Hopefully, it retains the regulation retains its main attributes and will work well. We expect that process to take another year, perhaps, and then we will be looking at these delegated acts for different product groups. So I think in the next 2 or 3 years, we will start to see the digital product passport becoming a reality. And I think that it will be possible to build many other applications on top of that open non-proprietary architecture on those standards, and there will be a multiplication of many other voluntary applications that can sort of build on top of those regulatory requirements. So I wish you all the best for the rest of your event, and thank you very much for listening to me. And I'm sorry I can't be with you. I hope it all goes well. I look forward to hearing some results.
Thank you. Thank you, William. Thank you, William. These were very interesting insights for our audience, and we are happy not today, but maybe after the event, to propose to you the 71st concept of a product passport, a digital product passport. And I think it can be not the one in the back, but it can be a very generic and a good approach. And we are happy to discuss and exchange on this topic later on. Thank you very much for your time. All the best, and next time, see you then in Hamburg. Thank you.
Thank you.